Ecomiverse. Get pumped up. We're getting ready for Around the Ecomiverse. Get pumped up. Get excited. Here we go.
Yo, welcome to Around the Ecomiverse episode 78. We got your boys Crypto Rain, and we did have the real Randy Chavez, but he seems to have popped out for a second there.
Yeah, no, he's still there. He's just invisible.
Invisible Randy. Wow, there's our Omi 240 million. Hey, have you changed your username yet? I think he's got more Omi. Omi 240. How many do you have? And Rain, speaking of that, did you hit 200 million mark? You must be getting
no, I haven't bought a lot lately. It's killing me. But overall, like, in order to buy more of something, because I quit my day job back in 2021. So in order to buy something, I have to sell something. And I just don't sell what's down to buy what's down unless I have something that's massively down. But like a lot of the altcoins are down. So I'm not going to just change positions between what's down to buy more down. But like Omi prices are super juicy. I have a little bit of liquidity coming in that, I'll probably pick up some Omi with that. But what I'm hoping is Omi stays down while something else takes off, and then I'll get over 200 million.
Yo, Randy! Rain, I'm actually with you in that. I actually have the exact same thing now. I'm pretty much living off crypto, and for me to buy one crypto, I have to sell another one. So it only works when one of them pumps crazy, and then
didn't you just get like several $100,000 for selling your house? Why have you got to sell one?
It's still under settlement. Like in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I get the moolah, but I don't know. The market might take off before then.
Damn,
it might. Well, what probably will happen? I think Bitcoin will take off, and I know some videos covered. Oh my gosh, looks like Bitcoin versus alts are going to run, and that could be the case, but it's usually that Bitcoin's going to break to the upside first, generate a lot of interest in crypto, which then cascades in. So I would say there's 80% chance that Bitcoin starts running before the altcoins take off.
Yeah, I can deal with that. Yeah, I can deal with Bitcoin running, because if Bitcoin's running and everything else is sort of behind it, there'll be some good deals still, somewhere to put the money. I mean, worst comes to worst, crypto's up heaps, and I'll just sit it in cash for now. 100 M'Baku? Is that a crypto? Anyone know?
M'Baku is one of the Marvel Mighties for the Black Panther series.
Ah, okay. So Coolmo and Bill are racing for M'Bakus. And Omi 240 mil actually has 250 million Omi now.
That's fun.
Nice.
That is a lot.
Yeah, you know what that means when Omi goes to a quarter.
What does that mean?
100
Is
million.
that $1 billion?
Oh,
wait.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
Right,
that's awesome.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's thinking that this is just going to be another bull, but if you have take the average of the last two full cycles on where Bitcoin goes at the peak, if that happens, if that plays out, you get to like almost $500,000 Bitcoin, and if that happens, I don't know, alts are going to be. I feel like a lot of the top 10 will be $1 trillion market caps, and I'm not saying that Omi is going to be in the top 10, but Omi will likely be in the top 50, and if that does that, we could have a good time.
I agree, because with institutional money coming into Bitcoin, which we've only seen the start of it, and there's a lot of institutional buying while the market's down. In fact, I think part of the market was down so that these big institutions could buy, like that was some manipulation of the news to just kind of freak people out, and that they're massively buying during this stage. Then when Bitcoin goes crazy, it's amazing as human beings how we try to chase what's getting away. And so literally most people chase green candles. So what's crazy is when Bitcoin goes to a $300,000 price, you will have people like massively trying to throw money in like crazy. Then when it corrects down and say it goes down to like 80,000 or 60,000 at the bottom of the next bear market, it'll be like crickets. Everyone will be too scared to buy because they just chase green candles. And this is why so many people do poorly in crypto investing, because they FOMO in and then they panic out. So like with Omi, you still see some panicking out while it's at lows. Bitcoin, like, I don't know that too many people are panicking out, a few of them, but just kind of holding before the bigger run. And the really, really smart money that's got big money, they're massively buying Bitcoin right now.
And there's also, it's newer school investing. I mean, you have people like Michael Saylor and Elon Musk and Cathie Wood. They're all like, hey, yeah, we have Bitcoin because it's the future. Blockchain technology is one of the most incredible things ever. But you have a lot of people that don't really follow. I feel like a lot of older people a lot of times don't listen to people that are younger. I was like, I'm older than this person, meaning I, more experienced or whatever. And I feel like a lot of people follow, like Warren Buffett each year still has a bunch of people. Like, we listen to him when he talks for like 8 hours, over in Omaha, and he's missed out on Tesla. He missed out on Bitcoin. He missed out on a bunch of stuff. So I feel like and obviously, hope he lived a long time. He was a great financial mind. But who do you think is going to be that next Warren Buffett? Like, is Michael Saylor that next Warren Buffett? Like, after he kind of either steps down or he passes away, like it's not like he's a politician where he can go up on a debate, have a bad debate, and then people, it's like, oh, maybe we should remove him out. If he talks like he can't run Berkshire, people will sell their shares, and then they'll look for whoever's next. Who do you guys think that would be? And do you think that person who would take his place, not at Berkshire, but just as the head honcho for investing, do you think they'll be bullish on crypto?
I like Warren Buffett. Like, he's smart, but he's pretty much an old school investor. Like, he misses it on technology ever since Google's IPO. He's been late to every technology run since actually prior to Google's IPO. Like, he recommended against Google at their IPO, said it was massively undervalued, or overvalued. The tech didn't make sense, blah, blah, blah. And he recommended strongly against it. Okay. So, I don't know that anyone will quite replace him in some ways, like Elon Musk has. Much more importance, much more in tune with where things are going, though he isn't heading a large investment firm so much as many technology companies that are doing some innovative things. So specifically replacing Warren Buffett, I don't know. Like, I don't know that anyone holds that. Cathie Woods, maybe. But Michael Saylor, he's very like one-dimensionally focused. So I don't know that he would replace him either. Because Michael Saylor like literally does not get altcoins at all. To him, like, the technology revolution that Bitcoin introduced stops and ends with Bitcoin, right? Oh my gosh, this is the greatest thing. It is like a really good digital gold and possibly a better source of money, possibly than US dollar or other fiat currencies, but definitely a better store of value by far. And he's right about that. But then his like thinking stops, and like all altcoins in his mind are complete crap. And he didn't realize the shift that happened in 2017, where because of smart contracts, these idea of altcoins, like the capabilities that then blockchain had, improved what the internet could do. And so the real breakthrough was smart contracts. Then all these other uses are done or have been innovating that allow the internet to do things it could never do for cheaper, faster, more transparent. And so that's the real further innovation that came about because of Bitcoin. But people who just stop the research at Bitcoin, like, yes, this is a better store of value. They're right about that. And then they're missing the bigger picture of some of these projects, like, are going to completely revolutionize video games. They're going to revolutionize this idea of digital collectibles, which wouldn't have been possible without cryptographic encryption combined with blockchain, where you could really show that that really is the legitimate item. So like this huge revolution is going on, and Michael Saylor is only catching a sliver of it.
How about you, Jordan?
Yeah, I think Yeah, like Rain said, Warren Buffett can't really be replaced as such, but maybe someone that thinks deeply about markets would be Elon Musk, and I think he's got an interesting approach because it is all technology, so it's almost like the opposite. He's like a new version of Warren Buffett that really gets the technology side on like the highest level. I think with X and Elon Musk wants to make it into the everything app, including financials and cryptocurrency. And imagine if every single cryptocurrency could be easily bought and exchanged on X instantly in seconds, right? That
Well,
would be pretty
they're trying that
huge.
with Solana.
Pardon?
Solana has this thing called I forget what it is. They just had like a podcast a few days ago, sometime last week, called Blitz or something, where you'll be able to go and buy a bunch of whatever you want off of just like every website. Obviously, the website or platform has to agree with them on it. I don't know if you need like a phantom wallet. I don't know if it can be done on your phone or
What's
just
called
desktop.
Blitz? That's cool. I have to check it out.
Yeah, it's something like that. But
I
it
mean,
sounds
that's the
if
thing,
they can
right?
do that, it sounds really easy.
If lots are doing that, right? So Coinbase just did that with the Coinbase Smart Wallet and the Base network. They're trying to make everything really, really easy and streamlined as well. So if X is trying to do it and Base is trying to do it, and then Solana's trying to do it, if they all sort of combine together and make it really easy and interoperable, eventually, it's going to be so seamless to be able to move all your cryptocurrencies around, and it won't matter what chain it's on eventually. Right, that's like the true final destination. The end game is when it doesn't matter what chain it's on. It matters what it is, but it doesn't matter what chain it's on.
No.
Right, because it will just be so fast and so instant and so accurate and so easy. I guess that's the future there.
Did you see what Coinbase just got?
What do they do?
So the Department of Justice just selected Coinbase Prime as its partner to safeguard and trade its Class 1 digital assets. So basically everything that they go and they've taken from like Silk Road and taken from people or other companies that are like breaking the law or doing whatever, they're literally asking Coinbase to like safeguard it while the SEC is still trying to sue them for it's the most bananas thing I've ever seen.
That is funny.
Vladimir, I think Randy is going to do is put it on a stream because I was too slow to get mine ready. So
yeah, it was just a miscommunication. We just had a I don't know, like Jordan wasn't answering. I was like, oh god, but like we have to always make sure that if Jordan's not available, that we can put on a Monday show. So I was just trying to think. I was like, okay, if he, as I knew you were moving, I don't know if today was just a bad day for you and you just happen to not communicate. So I was like, hey, let's me and Rain do this on my channel. And then Jordan came back and it's just like, hey, let's
Yeah, so what it is, right, is I mean, I've only missed 3 shows in about 2 years, but 2 of those were only a few weeks ago. But yeah, it's this house is different. It's a different layout and it's harder with the kids in the morning. And everyone's sleeping in. It's a lazy house. This is a holiday house. It's a lazy house. So people like to sleep in here. So it's harder to get up in the morning. Normally the kids would get up at like 5:30. Today they get up to 7. Yeah. Yeah. So normally I'm waking up early.
Kids.
Normally I've got hours ahead of time, but today I only had like a small amount of time.
I would. Oh my god, that is.
Sony's about to release an exchange in Japan. That's crazy. I've never heard that before.
So what's interesting, Japan is moving forward towards blockchain. However, like the amount of embeddedness between the government and the corporations there is really, really high. And so I do think that's why Japan's economy has been stagnant for like 30 years because there's just too much corporate red tape. But the politicians in Japan really get that cryptocurrency is the future. And they've been very pro crypto, which is why Cardano initially launched there. And so Jasmy is out of Japan, right, by all these former Sony execs who like founded Jasmy. And Jasmy was one that's been running recently, but one that I talked about when it was dirt cheap. Now that it's run, I think it's pulled back some. It's not as good of a deal. I like buying things when they're really, really cheap. And Jasmy isn't quite very cheap because there's been a lot of positive Japanese news. One of the hard things with researching Jasmy was like, couldn't understand. Most of it was in Japanese. However, like you could see that all these people leading the Jasmy blockchain were like former Sony execs, like CEOs. So it was like, oh, this is a big deal. And Japan was essentially in bed with them in greenlighting this. I wouldn't be surprised if it runs on Jasmy, but like Jasmy is one of the biggest projects out of Japan. And they're really kind of going to show you how pro crypto they are in like the next year. They've kind of been doing it in stealth, trying to get a bunch of traction before they really push how pro crypto Japan really is. But it's very pro crypto.
Yeah.
So Rain, is that Chinese as well? Is Jet?
So totally different market within Asia. And, you know, like obviously in China, the government and businesses are highly in bed, even more so than in Japan. And there's some infighting within the CCP as to like pro crypto or not. So they made it like very anti-crypto 3 years ago, and they're kind of changing that stance. But there's still a bunch of like Elizabeth Warrens in China holding that back. So we'll see where China goes. I think China in the future is going to realize they really need to get on board with crypto because it's going to happen without them. And then their economy won't be able to benefit from it.
Yeah, they'll be left behind.
Yeah, and there's still a bunch of crypto trading happening in China. It's just more under the table, and sometimes the officials know, and they're just not enforcing it.
Or they know, and they're just getting paid to look the other way.
Yeah. Randy, do you want to take this one, and then maybe Rain as well?
A chance that we miss the bull run, digital collectibles narrative doesn't hit. I mean, there's always that chance that the narrative doesn't hit. I mean, there's the chance that the sun doesn't rise in the morning. You know, so I mean, there's a chance that a meteor comes in and takes us all out. A chance that I mean, we could go all day with chances of that happening, but I think it's the likelihood that we will have a digital collectibles narrative is very likely. I would say 98, 99%. I mean, crypto is a small world. I get it. There's a bunch of other, like everyone, you know, one clocks back 2 years ago, everyone and their sister had a NFT project. They were looking, like CNN had an NFT project before they rubbed. But so it will come around. The question is when, and again, could it not? Sure. I've clearly bet that it will, and VeVe is in the best position to benefit from that, along with Omi. But yeah, there's a chance. I don't know the exact odds though. Rain, what are your thoughts on that? Yeah,
like obviously, if the digital collectibles narrative doesn't hit, then Omi won't do what it could do. Like Omi, everything's going to run in the crypto space. Like, kind of take for example what's happened in the meme coin space. Is that like these new narratives come out like, oh, this is the first meme coin created by AI, and it gets some traction because it has a little bit of a story that people could buy in on, and money cascades kind of throughout. Like that's going to happen across the greater altcoin market with substance, things with substance. And people will be looking for what's still cheap that has a narrative that makes sense. And so as money cascades from Bitcoin into other things, like I don't get why the digital collectibles narrative wouldn't run. Like if the digital collectibles narrative didn't run, well, then Omi would miss a big opportunity. But why won't it run? The way it happens is people will be looking for what's undervalued, what has substance behind it. And then all of a sudden they'll be like, oh my gosh, this VeVe app is incredibly substantive. Oh my gosh, the people making this, they have some of the best intellectual property in the world. And you have these augmented reality like collectibles with some of the biggest brands in the world. Like that's a really big story. And then Omi will start to run. And then guess what happens? Well, people chase green candles. So they'll see Omi taking off and they're like, oh my gosh, Omi's so cheap at 0.1 cents, you know, and then they're buying. It's like, oh my gosh, Omi's so cheap. And you'll see 7,000 videos across YouTube saying, Omi's at 1 penny and why it's going to $1, you know, and, you know, when it hits like 2 cents or 3 cents, you know, those of us that have like bought it super cheap will start taking profits and not be buying more at those prices. We'll be selling, but just a lot of the crypto civilians or the people that just, they're not good at investing yet. They'll be chasing those really big highs thinking that, okay, I'm buying high, but it will just keep going higher. And they'll learn the hard way. It doesn't play out that way.
And also you have to take a look at, sorry,
I was just going to say NFTs ran late last cycle too, and they kept running, right? Even Bitcoin was going down. Omi and VeVe NFTs and other NFT projects were still going up.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
people chase green candles, right? So the number of people trying to get a Todd McFarlane Batman when they were at 6,000 gems and higher was tremendous. And why it's like, oh my gosh, I don't have one yet. And people were FOMOing in. And so that's what FOMO does. And people chase green candles. So the truth too is people get bored at these like long sideways movements. And they, I want to show a chart later on a perfect example of last bear market. One that just was trading sideways and down and boring and just nobody was paying attention to. I say nobody, the smart investors were, but everyone else was like, if you brought it up and mentioned it, it's like, they're like, oh, that's a stupid thing. It hasn't done anything in forever. It's a dead coin is what they said. And then it did like 130x. Cool. 130x is some life-changing money.
Especially if you put a lot in. Yeah. There's a argument to be made where it's like, okay, well, it's not real investing, it's collectibles, only children play with collectibles. And they do have a point where the second largest demographic or the second most amount of money that is put into collectibles is by 3 to 5 year olds, or their parents put it in for them. But the one that surpasses them, the biggest demographic that actually puts the most into collectibles is adults. They did about 1.5 billion in toy sales in Q1 of 2024. And again, their closest competitor was the 3 to 5 year old preschoolers and their parents, but most of the rest of them were adults. We were all kids fairly recently in the last 20 something years. And I don't know, I still like the things that I grew up with. I still like Pokemon. I still play video games. I still play Pokemon. This new wave of adults, we're a little bit more childlike than I think any other adult that came before us. And I don't mean childish. I mean, like, we like the things that we liked when we were kids, because that's when things started changing. Cartoons in the 70s or 80s had really nothing on cartoons in the 90s and 2000s, and it just keeps getting better. So that this demographic, like, it'll hit. We just don't know when.
We've got a good point here from Vladimir that basically just a few big YouTubers talked about Omi and it started running like crazy. Like Andre Jake.
Yeah, like recency bias is a real thing, that people assume that what has been running will continue to run. And they assume that what has been going down is going to continue to go down. So Omi's mostly been on a downtrend, trading sideways for some of it, but mostly down over the past 3 years. So when people look at the charts, oh, they don't buy. These are like the crypto civilians that don't really get buying cheap. Everyone knows to make money in investing, you have to buy cheap and then sell high, but that's not what they actually do. They buy high, hoping it goes higher. So when Omi starts going high, then they're ready to buy it. So when it's at 0.5 cents or 1 cent or 3 cents or 5 cents, then they'll be FOMOing in like crazy. And every YouTube channel will be covering it, because that's how you get a bigger YouTube channel, is covering what's already way hot, because that's what everyone's searching for. That's what you get the most subscribers, because you'll be confirming their bias that Omi will never stop going up, and your channel will get really big. And yes, your viewers will get absolutely wrecked buying high, hoping it just continues going higher for forever. But that's how you grow a really big crypto YouTube channel, if that is what your goal is.
Preach.
We got Chris Ashby here saying he's got the Game Boy Color with red and gold versions. I love Game Boy Pokemon.
I want to do these challenges that people do where they say like, hey, it's got to be done on original Game Boy, original whatever, and see like how fast you can beat the game. But those things, they take forever, because like when there are emulators now, when you can go to 4x and 8x speed, it's so much easier to do that, and you're still getting the enjoyment of playing. But a lot of games just go super slow, and like I feel like a lot of adults just don't have the time for that. So if anyone wants to go and play those games, but you don't have a lot of time for it, just download an emulator like John GBC Lite or John GBC, and then just download the ROM. There's multiple ways to do that.
Yo, Chuck Boy! Jordan, Sony launching their own crypto exchange. I still believe Omi will shock the world. Can't wait. By the way, Chuck Boy is Chuck Boy, but he also still owns a big bag of Omi. He told me yesterday. I think Omi is still his number one play. And then it's Chuck.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We had a question about Devi, and Devi's in this like uncomfortable zone post-launch.
Yeah, let me find that.
When they go through some token investing problems. And like, so a bunch of their pre-sale tokens are still vesting. Like, they have some good things going on, but blockchain gaming hasn't been running, and Devi's best application is towards blockchain gaming. It can do 8 million transactions per second. It's a layer 1 blockchain with a market cap that's ridiculously low at like $8 million. So where could it go? It could go 1,000x from here, which would be an $8 billion market cap easily. You know, it could go into a 60 billion or 200 billion market cap. Depends on how much traction it does get. That's the part I don't know. How much traction will it get? Okay, they have the fastest blockchain that I'm aware of. They're like Immutable X in that they're a private blockchain. They're not publicly accessible. Not just anyone can build on them. You have to have permissions to build on it. So it's a permission blockchain like Immutable X, but can far exceed the speeds of Immutable X. Will they get enough traction between what they're building on their own blockchain, like their Litcraft game, which was rated the #2 blockchain game by Cointelegraph out of thousands of games out there? Will it get enough traction? I don't know. I think so. That's why I hold a huge bag of it. But I can't say I know what that looks like. And if that will come together. They are trying to work with some licenses of major mobile franchises to bring those AAA level mobile games onto their platform. And they can do that through integration in a matter of like 3 months. So in other words, they'll be delivering AAA level games of titles that people already know and love. And they can put that together in a matter of months if they acquire those licenses. And that's the word if, like it's a big bet. It's a risky bet. I have a ton of Devi. Do I know it's going to work out? No, I just strongly suspect it's going to work out. I don't see why it won't.
I was going to ask, Randy, do you have any Devi?
I do, not a ton though. I will get a decent amount more. It'll take a couple weeks, so hopefully by the time San Diego Comic-Con rolls around, I'll have a bunch of that. Want to get as much as soon as possible because it's the Telegram, which I haven't been in a while, but you have a bunch of people, and this is why I'm not really worried about Omi. You're like, oh, the price is going down. Meanwhile, like they just launched Litcraft with Fiat. They have others that can. There's a lot of things that they've done really well the last year, and they've accomplished. But because they have not a vesting issue, but they have vesting that's going on, and some of those people are selling, and there's a little bit of downward pressure on there, and as a result, you know the token's taking a little bit of a hit, and people are just like, oh, it doesn't matter what we do, doesn't matter what they announce, what they accomplish, price keeps going down, like until that vesting runs out. And then what happens? They built all of this stuff for the past year. They have, and I've had the CEO on. Rain, you've had the CEO on, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah. All of this is being done in a really quick manner, and like Rain said, fastest blockchain in the world. I think Solana does 80,000 transactions per second, and I think they're talking about Mega ETH. Mega ETH is like a layer 2 that's supposed to do like 100,000 transactions per second, which is great. By all means, keep it up. But when you could do like 80 times that is nuts. Other people will want to build on that blockchain. They have a pretty strong community so far, and they have some good ambassadors. This is something that'll likely take off. This is why I want to get a bunch. I don't have a bunch yet, so I probably shouldn't have said.
They have one of the greatest stories in crypto right now, right? Like one of the greatest stories. Their blockchain is faster than anything I'm aware of, anything that's been documented, because they documented their 8 million transactions per second. They did a video showing it. They did have Accenture's blockchain group came out and verified that they could do what they said they could do when they were doing a deal with a Fortune 100 company. And so there's multiple layers of verification that they can do. It's not just talk. Their Litcraft game has actually been running on their blockchain for like 5 years now. And most of it, their development was in stealth. They've been developing since like 2014 or 15. Tom, the CEO, came up with a sharding algorithm of it like back in 2015. And the reason why it took so long to get to market is they spent 4 years integrating it, not with a blockchain language like Solidity, or like Cardano went the Haskell route, which is what some traditional programmers know. they took extra time to integrate it with API calls, and they used RESTful API. And that was a very, very difficult problem to solve. Very, very complex and hard to do. And it took them 4 years to do it. So they weren't even ready to roll out anything until about 2020, late 2021. They were talking about launching their token. But by then, the market was starting to fall and everything, and they decided to delay the launch of their token until, 2023, I think, or early this year, 2024. And so knowing that we'd be going into a bull run. So there hasn't been anything investable for the general public until 2024. Now, people told me, I've been covering VeVe for like 3 years now. I invested in their company way back in 2021. And they said, when I would talk to people about VeVe, I would say, it's amazing. And they're like, cool, where can I invest? But until this year, there was nothing for people to be able to buy. So now they have a token to hold on to that launched in January. But as what frequently happens, it initially got some traction and went from the launch price of like 40 cents all the way up to like $2.40. People got excited kind of in the short term. And then it kind of hits that, nothing's happening. You got some early investors, they're getting their tokens vested, and it's just absolutely punished the price. And so some people are freaking out right now, like, oh my gosh, the price is so cheap. But I don't know about you, like as an investor, I like buying cheap prices. So I don't sell at cheap prices. I like buying them. So those that are interested in VeVe and missed an opportunity to buy it when it first came out, when it went to 40 cents and then it came down to 30 cents temporarily, well, now you're at even cheaper prices. And once the token vesting ends, I think in October or November, this price pressure from the token vesting ends, then there will be that downward price pressure will stop, as well as like at some point blockchain gaming runs again. And when it does, I don't know why VeVe won't run with it. So is that 2 months away? Is it 3 months away? Is it 5 months? I don't know. I see Bitcoin setting up for a run soon. And at some point, some of the altcoins can run too, but I have no way to predict specifically when blockchain gaming will run again. So we'll have to see how it plays out. When it does, I think VeVe will have, it has one of the greatest stories going into this narrative, that it can catch massive traction from here if that story gets told over and over again. Now, will the story get told over and over again? I think so. I just can't say I know for sure.
We're going to try.
Yeah.
Woo! I like VeVe. I like the CEO. I've spoke to him and I saw him on your channel as well. And yeah, it's really,
he's a cool
really
dude.
interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and their game Litcraft, I love the idea of their digital financial ecosystem they talk about. And what's cool is like they retained me to help them as they were kind of making some determinations with their blockchain game. And I'm the one that suggested, I said, look, because I followed Axie Infinity and why Axie Infinity was so successful. And I said, well, Axie Infinity made $1 billion in revenue. And you know how they made $1 billion in revenue? It wasn't from selling NFTs. It was from providing Smooth Love Potion to people who played the game. That Smooth Love Potion could be used to breed to create more Axies. And then as things were sold in their ecosystem, they took a small transaction fee. So in other words, it was mostly the end users getting that value who were playing the game. I think what transforms the blockchain gaming world is a game that focuses on letting gamers get stuff for free through playing, but then they can transact that amongst each other, and you just take a small transaction fee at that point. Oh. And Tom was like, well, that's not how gaming works. And I've been in the gaming industry for 15 years. And I said, you're right. You're thinking about how gaming has worked, but the future looks like this, because this is what gamers are going to like. So he came back to me about 2 weeks later and he said, Rain, I think I get it. And then he talked to me about all this stuff he planned. I was like, wow, you just took my idea and like ran it on steroids. Holy shit, you get it. Like, I think your game is going to be a massive success if you implement that. And he did take that idea and really ran with it and created this whole digital financial ecosystem that you can play all these little sub games. You then earn components that are necessary to build other things, and just you get them for free. And then as you sell them to other players who don't necessarily want to play that part of the game to earn it, they can just buy it from you and you just take a small transaction fee. already they're generating some good revenues through that. And it's just a small transaction fee, allowing players to really retain the majority of it. That is golden. I think that idea goes absolutely huge. Contrast that with Gala, that's like, here, buy this NFT for $12,000 from us, and you'll earn 20% more when you play. And it's like, I don't like how that feels. Nobody wants to buy your NFT for $12,000.
Yep. Litcraft, nice experience. And if you go on and look at the leaderboards of those games, the real Randy Chavez, aka Chavy Cat, or Chavy Cat 5, whatever my name is on there, is on a few of those games. Actually, the leader on I think Brick Break, one of the ones, I don't know which one it is, but one of the ones I have.
I know you play, Randy.
I play every night.
It's a mobile game, mini game.
Yeah, so you can use it on your phone. I use it on my tablet mostly because it's a bigger screen. But there's a bunch of things that I like to do on there. If anyone ever played the old school Bloons game, like the tower defense game, they have like a game like that, which is really fun. They have a bunch of different levels, different difficulty. They have it's Litcraft, so it's not just solitaire, it's solitaire. So they do a little bit of wordplay with that. All of the games that you see that were like super popular, that would be on like your mom's cell phone, like they'll have that here. So there is kind of something for everyone. There's some harder games, there's some easy games. There are some really hard games, so those I don't even bother with. My reaction time's not as good anymore. but some of them are really fun. And I
14-year-olds are hard to compete with in the reaction timing, right? Like,
yeah, instantaneous reaction time.
Yeah.
So I've got one interesting idea here. VeVe needs a separate app for the marketplace and collectibles. I'm hesitant letting my youngest play with them, knowing they are digital assets. I think maybe all they could do is like add a password that you need to list your collectible for sale, and that would fix that.
Yeah.
I don't think you need a whole separate app for that.
Yeah, to build a separate app for that, it could just be like a permissions thing, like, hey, we're going in kid mode right now, and then that's it.
Yep.
And
a password to get out of kid mode or something, or PIN number or something.
So AI has created like $1 trillion already. There's no AI is definitely not that bad. You could make the argument that, well, we don't know, maybe this blockchain gaming is going to have its own section in gaming, and it's just going to live there, and it won't completely overhaul the entire system. And maybe you're right. Maybe it's just going to be there for everyone that's just interested to play to make money or interested in Web3. But that is not going to go anywhere. And AI is definitely not. That is 100% going to change the way we work, the way we live. Most things will be done by robots. That's already disrupting almost every major industry. That is not going anywhere, in my opinion.
100%.
So some good comments about like blockchain gaming. Like blockchain gaming isn't quite to AAA level gaming. And so like Axie Infinity did really well in 2021, but the truth is that the game is extremely boring. But because there was this idea of like asset ownership where you got to actually capture the value that you created through the game, it got way more adoption than the gameplay deserved. We're in round 2 of that. So this next cycle we'll have like Litcraft and say Illuvium are far better than what Axie Infinity was. But are they at the AAA level games? Well, no. Litcraft uses a bunch of mini games that are along the lines of what you might already play on your phone. They're just kind of fun games like Flappy Birds, and they have some other things like Solitaire. They have versions of those within it to earn things. But the reason they'll get so much adoption is because it kind of is a fad. Like Wes isn't completely wrong there, but because this idea of capturing value. What really crushes gaming is when some of these top level games with gameplay that people already really love based on the gameplay introduce full asset ownership. So one of the reasons I like Devio is they're going to these AAA level games and working on licensing some of them. And because they integrate with API calls, they can actually take a blockchain or a game and make it blockchain enabled within like 3 to 6 months. Like imagine if EVE Online, which is one of the longest standing MMORPGs, and I've heard that they want to take their game to blockchain. Imagine they came down and you had true asset ownership, that you could sell those battleships and other things for actual real money. And kind of you can, but there's like a black market for it. If they integrated with blockchain and put it on the market where you could sell these things for and trade them for ETH, EVE Online would become the top played game in the world if they could hurry up and do that within the next 6 months, because the gameplay already has people that have followed it and played it for forever. And then they'd be introducing asset ownership, which is one of the that will absolutely change gaming in the future. And that would be the best marriage of things, because one of the challenges with blockchain gaming is a lot of it's being designed by crypto people, right? And the very best games aren't usually designed by crypto people. They're designed by gamers and gaming people. So you're getting some of the integration now that some of these new things like games for a living, well, that project is being run by game developers. And so you'll have better level games coming in. Now, this next iteration will be kind of a little bit crypto game / game development, like Litcraft. And Tom, who's at Devio, like he's actually been a game developer for like 15 years. So he does have the game development background, and he happened to also create a sharding mechanism that's faster than anything out there. He already had the sharding mechanism when companies like, what were some of the companies that said, we're going to develop sharding and it's going to be amazing. We have this idea of sharding, and, you know, give us $20 million when we do our ICO and we're going to develop sharding. Yeah, they already had their sharding algorithm and working on integrating it with RESTful API. It's just currently cheap because the project launched their token in the bear market and they're going through some token vesting. Cool. If their story comes out and gets told, like EVE Online could go to them and say, hey, let us integrate our stuff with your blockchain so we can have it blockchain enabled, and let us integrate it so then people can sell their items through your marketplace. And EVE Online would be up and running and be blockchain enabled in 6 months. And it would become one of the biggest played games in the world, because then you would be able to sell your really big mining thing. I forget what they're called. You'll be able to sell that for like, you know, $20,000, which is like the real world value of it.
Big A here, Rain basically said, similar to what you said, is when Web 2 games integrate Web 3, so like the assets, that would bring some really mainstream attention. And yeah, it's really interesting you say that, you know, Devi can do that. Like these Web 2 games can come and integrate basically with them. With the
Yeah,
blockchain.
if they're able to get some licenses, right, of some AAA level games and bring them in, that's going to catch traction. That then actually some of the AAA licenses will say, well, we don't want to license it to you, but we just want to build on your blockchain. And that will bring Devi like a ton of business and a ton of notoriety. And then Devi will go crazy because they're the only blockchain that's really can handle that type of stuff. Like Immutable X is decent. There's a lot of people building, like Illuvium's building on Immutable X, but some of the people that have built on Immutable X are now trying to leave Immutable X. Why? Well, actually, the two projects that I'm aware of that are in that situation, I haven't heard from the team what the specific reasons are, but it can't be good that they're wanting to leave Immutable X, and I'm really curious as to what the reasons are. But Immutable X does not have the speeds that Devio has at all, and the amount to actually run transaction on Devio is like almost zero.
What do you think of this? Gamers don't even care about blockchain NFTs.
Well, what they will care about is ownership, because like I played EVE Online back in 2018, 2019, because I realized where blockchain was going. And then I wanted to play some of the best MMORPGs out there. And so EVE Online had been long-standing. I played it back in 2003. It's been vastly updated since then. And it was fascinating to get in there. And I was like, the truth is you don't quite own those assets. You own them as they're in your account. But if you try to sell them for real money and they catch you, they will shut down your account because it's against the terms of service. But if all of a sudden you make it to where you can sell those on a marketplace and capture real value for it, that idea is absolutely huge. You don't have to call them NFTs. They don't like the model that Gala did with NFTs. And that's what burned a lot of people, because that model was very greedy by the projects. what people will like is asset ownership. Because if you play that game, and I heard some of the big corporations in that game secretly have a black market that they sell a bunch of their stuff and possibly already make like $1 million for running their corporation per year. Now, once it's blockchain enabled and they're able to get full value for those rather than having to sell everything secretly on the black market and try to hide it and stuff, they'll be making massive money. And the amount of inflows of money into that type of game are unlike anything we've ever seen.
Rain, all the different games I've played over the years, because I'm a big gamer, I used to sell all my assets. So I would sell, like you said, like I'd sell accounts.
Yes.
And I saw friends that would grind and sell gold, and like, so all that stuff has been sold over the years, but like you said, it hasn't been legit, and therefore they've never got full value for it.
Yeah, you're always running a risk, and so is the person buying it running a risk. And because of that risk, you have to give a risk premium. But imagine all of a sudden it's totally embraced, that it's completely okay that you're selling your stuff and it's endorsed. And they just take a small transaction fee. You'll be able to capture a lot more value for it.
GTA co-founder Jamie King is part of the Medicaid team. Yes, he is.
When GTA 6, bro. When GTA 6.
Yeah, when GTA 6. I thought I saw some trailers. I don't know.
This is why I'm not really concerned with VeVe and delays. People have been waiting for GTA 6 for like a decade. And
taking a long time.
If you look at all of the wild videos on TikTok, it's all like, the comments are all like, oh, can't believe we got this before GTA 6. And it's on like every video. So clearly people are wanting it, and they have to sit there and take it. They're not demanding about, when are we going to get updates? We demand updates. It's just, let's sit there and take it. What was that comment?
I'm not sure. Hang on, I'll go back to that one. So earning NFTs can eventually replace the old achievement of badges. No. So yeah, you can earn badges in certain games. That I guess you could have NFTs that you could trade between. I don't know about that one.
That would make a lot of sense, because if you have something like, let's say like Lego Star Wars, I love that game. If you kill Jar Jar Binks like 20 times, like just because he's annoying, and you get an achievement for that. And if you don't want to play the game and you don't want to it'd be cool to just, let me buy that achievement from you and then transfer.
Yes, like for showing off purposes.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Social flexes, right? And the power of social flexing is huge. And so that's why this idea of ownership is what transforms gaming. And some people are like, oh yeah, blockchain gaming sucks right now. And it's like, yes, but the idea of asset ownership is exactly what's going to transform gaming completely. 10 years from now, a game that doesn't have asset ownership, the chances that it's successful will be abysmal. Almost everything will embrace asset ownership. And you're seeing some of the existing AAA level games going towards asset ownership. One of the first was Counter-Strike Go. Their marketplace went absolutely crazy. They are making a killing with partial asset ownership. Still very centralized. And when you sell your stuff, you end up paying like a 15% transaction tax, like 10% towards like Counter-Strike Go and 5% towards Steam or something. And so like the transaction costs are so high, and you don't really own it. If you get your account banned, you don't get any of that stuff. And I don't even know that you can take the money out of Steam, but
I don't think you get in your account. I think you get in your account, but yeah,
I don't think you can then take the money out. But even notwithstanding that, people paid $100,000 for like a rifle or a knife skin. And that's crazy. But this idea of ownership is the powerful thing that will transform gaming. And blockchain enables ownership and easily like things like ETH and other cryptocurrencies allow the asset ownership. Because one of the big problems with World of Warcraft and EVE Online, the reason they couldn't endorse selling things in their game was they were scared that like the IMF would come to them and say, you created a currency and you don't have the power to do that. You're not a government. And so that was what they were always scared of. And so they really enforced those terms of service. Well, now they don't have to try to create a currency. They just allow you to trade your stuff for ETH, which has been embraced by most countries around the world. Especially the US is going to allow an ETH ETF. And so they just allow you to trade it for ETH. And then they haven't created a currency. So now you have an on-ramp that has real value, allowing people to trade it for ETH or for USDT or something, and or USDC, and then there's an exit and on ramp, off ramp for people to be able to off ramp their money without you as a game having created a quote unquote currency.
Oh, so I think you can use the money within Steam, but you can't get it outside of Steam unless
Yeah,
you
so it's still totally trap value, meaning, oh,
Yeah.
great, you
You
know,
can-
I sold my
yeah.
skin for 110,000, which I can still only spend within Steam.
So you can buy 110,000 $1 games, but you can't get your money outside. But you know what? I guess yeah. There's again, it's one of those difficult ways of getting your money out. You can buy games, you can list them on those sites where they sell the games back to people cheaply, so you can get money out, but you'll lose like 90% of it.
Right.
Yeah. On CoinGecko, there's two devies. They're both the right one, but when they were giving them their preliminary information to CoinGecko, like this was before the token launched, and they sent them the preparatory information. When then the token was launching, they sent them all the updated information instead of just like updating the account. Like CoinGecko created a whole second like Devio thing, thinking it was separate, and which creates some confusion.
Oh no!
But
But
I
it's
think
devi.
only one shows the price history and stuff, and what you're looking for is the one that shows the price history.
It'll say Devi. It's the top one when you go and search it.
We might
When
have to
Clash
do-
of Clans on Devio, exactly right. Great question by Crypto Cosmo. See, Clash of Clans could come to them and be like, "Man, we want to make this on mobile or on Devio and integrate it with your API calls," and they could get Clash of Clans on mobile in like a matter of months.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
I'm not aware of another blockchain that could integrate so easily. Like the person who programmed the marketplace for Devio is a Web 2 programmer. He doesn't know anything about blockchain, but he is the guy who built the marketplace for Amazon when they wanted to create a Kindle marketplace. So extremely experienced Web 2 developer. He came in and programmed their whole marketplace for Devio's marketplace, and he doesn't know anything about blockchain. He just knows Web 2. And because they integrate with API calls, like he didn't, when he finished and completed his marketplace, he still didn't know anything about blockchain because he didn't need to. And that's the story of Devi. That's why the story is so powerful, because it can take Web 2 to Web 3 in a matter of months without people having to learn Solidity and a whole new programming language and what is blockchain. They're just integrating with your fast as hell blockchain at faster than normal database speeds. And they're integrating with it in a language that they already know, which is using API calls.
Awesome. I'll do a quick shout out to Epico, sponsor of this channel, sponsor of this show. Epico is, I know we talked about earlier, a tower defense game. Randy said there's one he plays. Epico have a really good game called Epico Regal. It's a tower defense game. It's really, really fun. I play it daily still. I'm in the top 25.
Nice.
I was in the top 20. I got kicked out. There's some people, like more and more people playing it now. And I know that actually makes them a solid income too. I spoke to Venkatesh about it. And I'm guessing that income is what helps drive it forward. And they're launching a platform towards the end of the year. So Epico will not just be a few games. It's going to be a full-on platform. I guess a little bit like, Epic Games and Steam and obviously on a smaller scale to start with. And they're going to do some VR games as well. So yes, check out epico.io. That's all from the sponsorship side. And Randy, what are you looking forward to in VeVe? Because we haven't talked too much about the VeVe drops at the moment. Did you guys get the Carnage or anything like that?
I flipped them. I mean, I was going to get the Marvels anyway, the Marvel Mighties anyway. So I got the Marvel Mighties because I needed to. And then I think originally Venom and Carnage were supposed to be $50 each. I was like, it's a lot. I don't know if I'll get them. Maybe I'll just get Venom. And then I saw they changed it to $30. Like, oh, this is easy to get because you had Spider-Gwen, and you had Wolverine at like 2 and 3 times the amount that Venom had. And I was like, okay. And Venom's cheaper, and is the first appearance. Gwen Stacy wasn't because her first appearance in the Marvel Mighties. This is easy. I'll definitely flip this. So I flipped it, but I think I sold it like $69. Everyone comment nice down below with the 69, and now it's at like 100. So I probably should have waited on that. But at the end of the day, double up on that. And then I did the same thing with Carnage. It's like, okay, well, I might not get as much for Carnage, which I think I got like 55 for it. But that was still nice. The other thing that I'm looking forward to is they do have A-Force coming out, I think tomorrow Yeah, tomorrow. I think I might be traveling. I don't know if I'll be able to get it, but it's just like we saw a little bit of it in Avengers Endgame, where Peter Parker just like got blown to hell, and Captain Marvel's like, "Hey there, Peter Parker, you got something for me?" And he's like, "How are you gonna get it through there?" And then what's her name from the Dora Milaje, Okoye, she goes, "Don't worry, she'll have help." And then you see all the women come out. Like that's what A Force is. So it's just hashtag women power. But it's really cool the way they do it. So I'll get that. That's a nice key comic.
Cool. That's awesome. I was going to say, we just had a comment. They seem to have disappeared, saying no one's watching. We have about 250 people live watching this throughout all of our channels, because it's on multiple X accounts, multiple YouTube accounts. Okay, there's definitely a decent amount of people watching. It's not the most we've ever had, but we're definitely way past the bear market. We were getting like 100 people to 200 people max live then, and now we're getting anywhere from 200 to like 500 per show live. That's live, and obviously throughout the week more people watch it. I'm definitely not worried about our numbers anymore. It's people that are interested watch it, and people that aren't don't. So it's
the majority of people chase green candles. The smart people are watching now. Why? Because they get in order to make good money. You're buying cheap and you're selling high instead of waiting till everything's high, buying it then and hoping it continues to just keep running higher. And so many people get this wrong in the crypto space. Like literally since I started in 2017, I've seen that 90% of people don't make meaningful money in crypto. And it always blows me away because I know the opportunity to make money is so strong, but they can't rewire themselves. They can't help themselves. They FOMO in at like all-time highs. And sometimes they even watch it go higher, but then they can't take profits out. And then they watch it sink to way below they bought it. And then they just FUD the project and call the founders stupid and everything. And it's really their own mistake. They haven't learned about cycles. They don't know how to invest. And they came in just thinking that the rules had changed. And yet markets do this to people every single time. Even I did real estate for 20 years. I saw the exact same pattern show up in real estate. At the top, people were like, "Oh, real estate is the best thing ever. And everyone should invest in real estate. And I just bought my third home." And then, prices flip around and they're like, "Oh, I'm losing my extra homes to foreclosure. And I might be able to keep mine. I might lose it too. But real estate sucks. It's the worst ever." And that's when prices are low. And people are like, "Don't invest in real estate. It's the most terrible investment ever." When prices are at lows. And so most people don't buy at those low prices. They wait till they're really high again. And everyone tells them it's okay to buy because everything's just going up and it's going to go up for forever this time. It just doesn't play out like that.
Pretty. There is as far as VeVe news, VeVe has announced, they had a lot of announcements this weekend, but one of the announcements was them going and saying, "Hey, we know that VeVe Fambam and a couple of others have been planning a movie night out to see Deadpool 3 on the first night of San Diego Comic-Con." And they said, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to sponsor it." So everyone that had already asked to go in, the seats are filled right now, but they said like, "Hey, you guys can go for free. We'll pay for it." We'll have a nice meetup at the beginning where hopefully we'll get some gold and silver logo redemptions. But it was just nice of VeVe to do that. They didn't have to. It was going on anyway, but they just decided to sponsor it because they're cool. Rain, you are going. You're going. Are you going to the movie? Did you?
Yeah, I'll be going to the movie.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I was one of the first to respond. I was like, "Oh, I'm down."
That's great. We gotta get you there, Jordan.
If I was in the US, it would be no question. But
I know.
I'm
24
flying from the other side of the world, literally.
You know what's cool though? When we went, I mean, it's a while out, but when VR is properly here, like you just put on some glasses and you've got a really good AR VR type thing, I could just jump in with you guys in like a little AR sort of.
We'll carry you in our pocket.
Save me a seat. Yeah, save me a seat and I'll sit next to you guys and I can just look over with my glasses, right, and just talk to you guys if we wanted. Like that, I guess that's the idea of the future. I don't know if it's going to happen like that, but that would save a bit of time.
I mean, as long as we have glasses and you can like view what we see, it shouldn't be an issue. Like, you ever see that episode of South Park where the kids go like trick or treating, but it's Kyle or Stan. I think it's Stan's dad that he like buys like a Blockbuster and he's just like, "Oh, hey, Halloween's gonna be a big night. We need you working, Stan." So Stan like can't go, so he like is an iPad and he's like streaming his way in, or they're Skyping him in. It just reminds me of that. Thinking about it now, there's a lot of other stuff that happens, like they get beat up and shit, and Kyle's like coughing on the iPad. Anyway, long story short, yeah, we'll wait till that. We'll take it with us.
Or have you seen the South Park episode where they do VR and they're
Oh,
stuck in the VR? And
yeah, dude, that literally
it's-
happened to me last year in Vegas.
it's so good. It is so good. Or and there's like the tech support. I'm tech support, and there's like another tech support that's stuck in the VR, and it's so good, man. South Park is the best.
My friend Yafeth the other day, he said, every time I talk about South Park, I always bring you up, as I always tell people, do you know those Peruvian people that are playing the flute? That's my friend Chavez. I was like, oh, fuck off. I don't play the flute, by the way. So I live my back, pipe dies down, keep the mighty set for venom since I can't sell the mighty. I love the mighty.
What's this? Randy, do you have trouble signing into the what's this?
iPhone account with the
The lit crafting experience.
I've never tried to sign in on my computer. I only really signed in on my tablet. I signed in on my phone once, but then I was like, when I'm playing on my phone, I just play on my tablet. So
Alrighty. So the answer is pretty much no, it works normally.
Mm.
Cool beans. Wow. I probably we'll keep the show going a bit longer. Is there any direction you guys want to go?
Oh, sure. Rand, you go first.
Yeah, let me share. I'm going to share my screen.
Yes, you said you got some cool graphs. We love graphs.
Well, like I just want people to understand. Like I've used different tokens for this. Like I frequently use Cardano to show. And, like people who don't get it, like Cardano is nothing like Omi or nothing like anything else. And it's like, what you don't get is like, right, projects are different, but the human psychology of markets are the same. So this was Matic, and Matic came out and its token launched way back here in 2019. And at first it went up, right? So, oh my gosh, it's all the way at 4 cents, having been down at like 0.31 cents. So it went over 10x. In the bear market after it launched. And then it just traded sideways. And the bear market took forever. And then there would be some announcement and it would go up to like 4 cents. And then some of the pre-sale investors would just dump the token right back down. And then what happened is it just traded sideways in this. And so if you would have asked the general person in crypto back in 2020 what they thought of Matic, they'd be like, oh, it's a dead token. Oh, nothing's going on. Matic sucks. It's terrible. Blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden, its use case started to come to fruition, and the crypto market started taking off. First started by Bitcoin running in October of 2020. And about 2 months later, it started rolling into altcoins. And you see right in early January of 2021, all of a sudden, Matic broke to the upside. It went to 3.25 cents, and then it went above or right up to the ceiling that it hadn't been able to break. Bounced back down, and then here it punched above it. And then it went all the way up to, well, this only shows like $2.78. It went above that briefly. Wow, well, that's 100x from down in this point. And yet, if you would have asked somebody way back here, they're like, oh, Matic's dead. Nothing's happening with it. And what they're explaining to you is recency bias. Well, nothing's been happening to Matic, therefore it's dead. And what they don't get is nothing is happening until all of a sudden there is something happening. So as a crypto investor, I look for substantive projects where there's strong substance behind it. And there's a really good reason why at some point their narrative of what they're doing should come into the spotlight. That's exactly what happened to Matic, is their narrative came in the spotlight. They went over 100x and went way up to these prices. And guess when everyone wanted to buy Matic? When it was like at $1.50 and higher. Oh my gosh, Matic is never going to stop going up. Look at this track record. Everyone should own Matic. Okay, well, you're late. You're buying high, hoping it goes higher. And they're right. It went a little bit higher. Went all the way to like $2.80, maybe even $3. And then it came back down. It went to 67 cents, and then it bounced around here for a while. And then it's gone all the way down to 53 cents, at which point people are like, Matic is dead. Nothing's happening with Matic. Now, I'm not buying Matic because their market cap is too high at 55 cents. But like, it is a buy. And what will happen? Well, when money starts rolling into altcoins again, Matic's going to take off. Now, it won't have the kind of multiples that I'm looking for, and that's why I'm not buying Matic. But it's a great time to buy Matic, and here was a terrible time to be buying Matic up at these highs, yet this is when everyone was wanting to buy it, and now at these lows, everyone says Matic is dead. Nothing's happening with Matic, blah, blah, blah. And they just don't know what they're talking about.
How long was it trading sideways for?
Since 2019 all the way to 2021. So,
all right, so about 2 years. 2.5 years.
2 years.
And before that, it just wasn't tradable. So people that invested in their pre-sale might have been like 2018, 2017. So they literally had to sit on their tokens till it launched. And you see some people as it ran up to this sense, clearly there was some selling that pushed the price back down. And probably, I don't know what the pre-sale price was on Matic, but they probably could still sell in this range and make a profit, which created some selling pressure. But it wasn't until the greater crypto market was ready to run that all of a sudden Matic started to run, because then people started to look deeper and, oh my gosh, there's this thing called Matic, and they're creating a side chain to Ethereum, and, you know, blockchain games can move off of Ethereum, move over to Matic for so much cheaper, as well as they rebranded their name Polygon, which just introduced kind of a new thing to it, and it absolutely took off and ran.
Rain, we've got some pushback by the West Coast guys saying the difference between Matic and Omi is there's more exchanges you can buy Matic on.
Yeah, there are more exchanges you can buy Matic on now. And even back then, there were a few more exchanges that you could buy Matic on, but just a few. So what's funny is this idea of, I saw this in real estate investment all the time. And people don't know what early stages looks like, right? So there was this guy who was telling me there was the corner of this major intersection, and there's a Walmart going up on that intersection. He's like, you know, my family had an offer to buy like the 40 acres there. We could have bought it for like $30,000 20-something years ago. And the owner was willing to finance it to us with no down payment. We would just make monthly payments on it over 20 years that would pay it off. And the interest rate was really, really low. And I said, well, why didn't you buy it? And he said, well, there was nothing there. Well, were the dirt roads there? Well, the dirt roads were there, but they weren't paved and there was nothing around there. It was just dirt. And I was like, well, that's what a good deal looks like. And I said, well, if you're looking to make money on real estate, we can go like 4 miles north where there's nothing there yet, but we can see where the roads have all kind of been mapped out. We'll buy an intersection that probably nothing will happen there for 20 years, but in 20 years, it'll be worth millions of dollars, just like this land is now. You know what he said? Well, no, because there's nothing there. So in his mind, a good investment looks like that when Walmart's knocking on your door to buy it from someone and somehow the seller's going to sell it to you for $30,000. That's not what it looks like. So you have to buy before all the shit happens. So like part of the reason Omi is extra cheap is it's hard to buy. It's not on very many exchanges yet. That presently hurts the price. And you see that as a bad thing. I see that as a good thing because I like buying cheap. Now, eventually it's going to get listed on a bunch of different exchanges and everything, and then it will be more expensive. When Omi is on Coinbase, it's not going to be at the cheap price it is now. It'll be much, much higher. Well, that's a terrible buy price. Is that what you're waiting to buy it, is when you can buy it on Coinbase? That's a bad plan. That's like waiting to buy the intersection till Walmart is putting bids to buy it. Like the seller's going to sell it to you at more, you know, like I could sell it to Walmart or I'll sell it to you, but why would I sell it to you for cheaper than Walmart's willing to pay? So if you're going to buy it from me, you're going to have to pay more than Walmart's willing to pay. Like that's a bad time to buy it, is after it's listed in all these exchanges and everyone's talking about it, because then that's buying high, hoping it goes higher. So as an investor, you have to look down the road and be like, it's not on very many exchanges yet, but in the future, it likely will. And in the future, when this narrative catches on, well, then it'll be easy for them to get listed on all these exchanges. And at that point is a sell point, not a buy more point.
Should we speculate about, I think the crypto.com keeps putting out these cryptic tweets showing these funny charts with IP that VeVe have.
Well, they did it recently with Mario, and we don't have Mario as far as I know. I mean, I guess maybe we could have a deal with Nintendo that's not really spoken about yet, but for the most part, it kind of fell apart when they did it with
VeVe IP. Okay, I missed that one.
Yeah.
Because they did multiple. I don't know what they're doing. Or they're just trolling everyone. I don't know. It's
I think they're just trying to relate to people. And they're like, oh, hey, look at this IP, with Goku and then Batman and stuff. So,
Ah, okay, I see.
but
It'll be interesting because I think there's a few different people that have ties to Crypto.com that are in the Omi fam. Omi fam. Well, it's
reach.
going to be an interesting next 6 months. You guys all excited for the overall crypto market?
Yes, it's gearing up, right? So when it kind of blows up, it's hard to tell. Like a lot of times people say, well, when is such and such narrative going to run? It's kind of like when you put popcorn in the bag, you can see when action starts happening, like you hear it, right? At first, like for the first, 30 or 45 seconds, there's no popping going on, even though a lot of the things behind it are going to cause everything to explode. You can see that happening in the crypto space right now. All these things behind the scenes are going to cause everything to explode. Now, in which order do things explode is hard as trying to decide which popcorn kernels are going to pop off first. I don't know. And I don't try to figure that out. I just invest across the ones that I think have strong fundamentals, and I wait for them to pop.
And you guys can see this?
Yes.
You can see 2020, I think we are really close to the next pop-off. See the red, the green, a little bit of consolidation, red, green consolidation.
Yeah.
I think and this is altcoin market, guys. So I think we're getting ready for this big green leg up. And I don't know when, probably a few weeks. I don't know.
mean, even if it takes a couple months, I'm hoping it takes a couple of months. Really got some things I want to buy in the next 4 or 5 weeks or so. And
What are you getting ready? Tell us your plan. I want to know. So you are a little bit more diversified now than you were at the start of the year. Quite a bit more diversified.
Well, I mean, I guess the last year, there's not a ton of people watching on here, so this won't matter. I mean, there's a reason why I only got another 40 million more OMI this last year, but however much, because I had to go into other things, had to do it, so. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still got more OMI, and I'm still going to get more. Like I'm at 190 now. I'll get up past 200 at some point.
You've got plenty of OMI, right? The thing is, you only need a certain amount of something, and if it does well, then you're going to have heaps of money, right?
Well,
so you don't
even
need
some of
too much.
Even some of the stuff that I think could potentially, maybe if everything goes right, that could outperform OMI. I still think that OMI has that higher chance of hitting, and that has that higher chance of everything going right, just because it has so much stuff that's already built out, and the other stuff it just hasn't hit yet. OMI's hit, it'll hit again, but the other stuff, like just one example, just Affinity, I have a really big bag of that because I think that could outperform OMI if everything hits. But I think the odds of that happening are slightly less, just slightly, than what OMI is. So I think OMI, as far as, in my opinion, for my own investments, nobody else's, is safety and the potential ROI. I think that potential ROI of the 200x to get to 10 cents is relatively safe for me, and I'll obviously take some profits along the way. And then I think there are some things that could do more than a 200x. They could do a 300 to 500 plus x. But I think the odds of them hitting are pretty close to OMI, but just not 100% the odds of what OMI is. If that makes sense, I might not be explaining that correctly.
So I wanted to share, this is just what a bear market looks like. So this is Cardano, right? So West Coast followed up and said, I understand buy low, sell high, but the problem is it keeps going down. It's been doing this for 3.5 years. Now, It hasn't really been 3.5 years. It feels like it's been 3.5 years. No. Does it feel like for forever? It always does in the bear market, right? So this is Cardano, and this is what the bear market looks like. So this is Cardano peaked out in May of 2018. So some things peaked in January of 2018, some of the altcoins, and some there was kind of this thing that popped off in April where a few altcoins went even higher, and it went all the way to 40 cents. And it did nothing but go down in general for 2.5 years. And then all of a sudden, it went the other way. But this is what buying low feels like. It feels like walking through mud, because it is, and it sucks. And buying OMI right now feels like it sucks. And most people don't have the fortitude to do it. They just can't do it. Why? it feels like it's been going down for forever. Notice feels is an emotional description of emotions. Cool. I don't know. I've rewired myself that I like buying cheap. Sometimes that means I buy cheap and it goes even cheaper. Cool. Can I buy more? Cool. Because it feels like walking in mud when you're truly buying low. And then all of a sudden it reverses and it goes crazy, which is where the gains are made. But this is where everyone started really taking notice of Cardano at $1. Well, shoot, the bottom was 1.7 cents. At $1, he missed 50x gains. What the hell are you doing starting buying Cardano at $1? You missed a lot of the run. Now, it later went to $3. But a lot of people that bought it at $1 didn't take profits at $3. And over time, they lost and went below what they had bought at. And that's what most people do in crypto. So most people do poorly in crypto because they just can't buy lows. It takes intestinal fortitude to be able to buy lows because it feels like it sucks. Feels is exactly the right word. So when it feels like it sucks, that's probably the time to be buying. Not when it feels amazing, you'll never stop going up. That's a terrible time to buy.
I remember that time, Rain. I remember that time when everything just keeps going up. It is definitely a good feeling, and yeah, you got to be careful not to get greedy.
It's euphoric, and that's when you want to refinance your house and get super creative because, oh my gosh, you wake up every day and it's going up, and that is the time to be rewiring your brain to be selling rather than refinancing your house or selling all your cars and selling your kidneys and selling your children to buy crypto. Not actually selling your children, but like, people get really creative on how they can get money literally at the top of the market or near the top. And then they get wrecked. And then what do? They didn't say, oh my gosh, I was new to this. I suck at this. They then run around and say crypto sucks. Instead of taking ownership, they were just new and didn't learn how to play the timing right. They blame crypto because sure as hell shouldn't blame themselves because everyone told them it was a good deal. Well, if everyone's telling you something about investing, be concerned. Most people suck at investing.
Bridge.
Woo! All right, I think we're getting close to the time I want to spend on the show. Can we all wrap up with our final thoughts? Randy, do you want to go first? What do you want to leave people with?
Of course. Thanks everyone for coming out. This is, I mean, now that Mr. MC1 has 10% ownership of YouTube, I don't think he'll let me leave. I think this is something that I'll be doing for quite a while. But I do want people to take notice of, yes, you had some of the people that were making videos in last bull market. They've stayed. Some of the people are still here. And they put that time in. And if you like them, try to build that relationship now, because as they make insane gains this next bull market, if they're smart about it, there's a chance they're like, okay, well, I've done the YouTube thing. I don't need to do it anymore. And there's a chance that they ride off into the sunset and you never see them again. So if you like them, try to build that relationship now. But like I said, obviously I'll be here forever. Outside of that, remember what it was like in both the good and the bad times, because not that bad times will never befall you again, but it's very easy to become a different person as money comes in. And sometimes it's for the better. Sometimes you get more generous and sometimes you help people out, but other times, other times not. Sometimes you get a little bit hoity-toity. Sometimes you get a little bit, someone may become a little bit of an a-hole. I don't remember what it was like. And if you had people help you, help someone else out. Be like, hey, this is what I've seen. Here's the people that I've watched, and here's some good videos on fundamentals or whatever. I feel like that's the responsibility of as you guys get a lot more money, a lot more capital, just to kind of help the new people out, because we don't know how much longer everyone's still going to be here. I mean, add a couple zeros to our bank accounts, and most people are probably not going to be here making YouTube videos every week.
No, I love this show, man. I'll be here for you guys, hopefully. Yeah. But maybe we'll do what Rain said. We'll get that virtual version of us running the show.
Yeah, create an AI, because I only made promises for my audience through end of 2025. I don't know what it looks like past then, so I'm here for everyone through then. After then, like I don't need to do this. What I make on YouTube is abysmal. for the work that I put in, it's nothing. It has led to connections and interviews that are amazing, right? I'm able to make way better investments when I'm able to talk to teams and find out what's going on and have them on for an interview with all of you. And often on our private Discord, we're then able to bring them on for private interviews there, that it's private and like they get to discuss things that they wouldn't normally discuss on a public interview. And that's incredible. The YouTube channel has given me access to not only give that to myself, but give it to my community, which is incredible for making better investments. Amazing. That's what I hope for when I started the YouTube channel, was to be able to make better investments, because YouTube only pays you really good if you're willing to sell your soul, which is this. Talk about things when they're really, really expensive. Give people overly optimistic reasons on why it would go way, way, way higher than that. And you grab a really large YouTube audience, you get tons and tons of views, and you make lots of money from YouTube revenue. And then you'll have every sponsor in the world pounding your door because they want access to all those views and paying you huge amounts of revenue for being a sponsor. Like, you know, BitBoy's show at one point had one sponsor was paying $1 million a month. Cool. You make really good revenues from that. But to get there, you have to like wreck your people, because there is no money on covering gems that nobody's talking about, that everyone thinks is dead. Even if those people are completely wrong and you're right, and it takes off tremendously from here, there's no money on the YouTube side of covering that. So where's the money? Well, if you're actually buying them yourself, that's where the money is. You won't make money from YouTube revenues doing that, but you'll make money from your own investments doing that. And I make my own money from my own investments, and I'm just covering to everyone what I'm buying. But past 2025, will I continue putting all the effort into running a YouTube channel? I make no promises on that.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for watching today. I really appreciate everyone coming out. And, you know, we do this show every week, and really, really appreciate Rain and Randy being my strongholds on this show. And, yeah, make sure you stay tuned, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. We're going to have that awesome outro Omi song. Let's go.
Get it back. What they say, it's the rise of the digital G. Omi token got the market bound, can't you see? With crypto, NFT, non-fungy fame on an Ecomi spree. I'm the buzz one, info in the blockchain, no mystery. Live, wow, can't ignore the stats. I'm repping on this, yet I chuckle cause I'm betting on this.
Rise to them digital kings. Value surging while my wallet sings. You call me, own me, that's the play. NFTs jumping day to day. Look at the charts. The sky's the limit. I'm invested in it, and I'm going to win it. Got that digital gold rush. It's the bomb, but remember, play a coin, make a wish. This is not financial.